Look like the revenue numbers are good. The revenue numbers have come in at 2.56 lakh crores, the total revenue, and that's 18.6% of the year's total. Last month, when we had the April-June numbers, we had only gotten about 12.8% of the total. So getting 18.6% is an improvement on that for sure. As well, on spending, we have got into 6.57 lakh crores. That again is 33% of the total compared to about 26% that we had last month. So it looks like the government has earned more and spent more. Overall, it looks good. Revenue deficit is 93% of the total. Not to be alarmed, it does happen in the first quarter that revenue deficits tend to spike because the non-tax revenues have all not kicked in. A lot of the revenue tends to be back-ended. It is the fourth quarter when tax revenues really spike up because of, these are after all months of advance tax payments, which are estimates. It's only by the final quarter that the revenues really start gushing in, and the government also gets into overdrive in non-tax revenues. But let me reserve my comments and toss it over to Rupa Rege Nitsure, who joins us from L&D Finance. Rupa, what have you made of the numbers? Okay, have we just lost Rupa? All right. I think Rupa held on very patiently. It does look like on the face of it, the numbers are decent, especially that the spending has picked up, which means, okay, much of it is non-planned spending, but nevertheless, that will unleash a little bit of liquidity in the economy.
Would there be any impact tomorrow, Latha, in terms of
no,
market
I don't think this would
Not
be. For
much.
one thing, this is extremely lagged numbers.
Yeah,
It's April, July.
Yeah.
So other than giving you an idea of how much tax revenue was collected, which is a little better than the previous months, this is not giving us much of an idea. That's the non-tax revenue, which was always bad. But, okay, planned spending is 36% of the total estimate. That is, that's what it would be. After all, April, May, June, July is 4 months. So you would expect about 1/3, and 36% has been spent. So none of these should be extremely positive or extremely negative for the market.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Okay, we actually do have Rupa Rege with us, Latha.
Rupa, go ahead. Your first thoughts on the revenue collections as well as the deficit numbers?
No, I'm completely with you, Tata. We have seen that indirect tax mobilization has been contributing a great deal to overall revenue mobilization, and I think that pace has been maintained in the most recent month also. And we have seen that, liquidity deficit also drastically got reduced, and now, government spending has contributed a great deal in bringing, liquidity comfort in the money market. So I think that is also getting reflected in higher government spending numbers. But as you rightly said, it's the non-tax revenue which will help reduce the overall extent of revenue deficit. I only hope that, a lot of it is going to capex rather than on any kind of revenue spending.
Yeah, actually 4 months down, and only 18.6% of the total revenue has been collected. Will that be a worry, or is this normal pattern that revenues, tax revenues come in more in the fourth quarter?
No, I think it will, but non-tax revenues, of course, will accelerate towards the end of the fiscal year. But I think indirect tax mobilization has kept up its pace, and I think, benign oil prices also has given government good opportunity to, garner additional revenue from there.
Okay.
So, yeah, and service tax also we are seeing now with GST and all, that also will help overall tax revenue mobilization. So I think that's a very positive thing.
All right, we'll leave it at that and touch base with you yet again when we get more macro numbers later today. Tax receipts are at 21%. Now, normally you would expect that it should be 36%, 1/3 of the tax revenues, but that looks still back-ended in spite of the fact that, as Rupa mentioned, you have service tax, which is higher than previous years, and you have cess collections, which are more than previous years, and you have fuel, cess on fuel, which is more than previous years. In spite of it, I would have preferred a higher tax revenue number, but it could well be back-ended.
Okay, we'll of course have the GDP data.